welcome to this very special edition of the Bond Room Unlocked. Now, normally I would take an item from this 27-year-old Bond collection and relate it to one of the films that we know and love. But I want to share with you a recent interview I did with prolific YouTuber and massive Bond fan, David Zaritsky, from the Bond Experience. Okay then, so welcome David to the Bond Room Unlocked. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Really good. So what I'd like to do is go right back to the beginning. When did you first take an interest in Bond? Like many of us, we had family time as kids and watched, the Bond films on TV. Was that a similar experience for yourself?
You know something, it wasn't TV because here in the States, James Bond wasn't as big as obviously in the UK, but I remember very well, we were in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It's a beach resort town, or at least it was. And it was raining, so we couldn't go to the beach. And my father said, look, I'm going to take you all to a movie. We had no idea what movie it was going to be. And it wound up being The Spy Who Loved Me. I remember sharks and a guy with metal teeth, and I just was hooked. And my father, literally right after that movie ended, went and bought me the Corgi DB5 and said, this is James Bond. And that was my first entry into it.
Yeah. And does that film end up being one of your favorite films because it's a starting point for you?
I've talked about this like from a philosophical standpoint. You'd think it would be. It's up there. It's definitely in the top 13, but it's not like in the top 5. I do enjoy it, but I still like Live and Let Die as Roger more than any other Rogers.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Okay. So we know that you have an extensive Bond collection. And when did you start? Of course, you mentioned the car, when you were a kid, collecting. And what was the first item that you obtained seriously in your collection?
Yeah, I was 32 years old. I was a young executive. I had a little spending money. I remember getting like a bonus or something like that. And I talked to my wife, and I loved James Bond, but at the time, Tomorrow Never Dies had just come out, and I fell in love with Bond all over again. I mean, that was really, it pulled me right back in. So I found a gentleman who was selling a screen-used Ericsson phone, like the one in the BM, the one, of course you do. And believe it or not, that was my very first major James Bond collectible that I ever got.
Oh, wow. And are you finding that there are, what's the toughest thing that you've tried to obtain? I mean, you have a massive collection that some of us can only dream of. So, what's the toughest item that you've thought, I really want that item, and you've eventually managed to get it?
The toughest one that I actually wound up getting is probably Daniel Craig's Armani leather jacket from Casino Royale, the one that he has in the airport scene. That is something I never thought I would own. And when I was able to get it, I was over the moon. That's probably my favorite collectible. But there are ones, like you said, that you would desire, like anything from Sean Connery would be amazing, of course. Mm-hmm. It's just got such a historical essence. And Sean Connery is my favorite Bond. So something from his era would be amazing.
Yeah. I have a 27-year-old collection. I started collecting in 1995.
Oh, wow.
But my collection is possibly more cars, figures, board games, that type of thing. Now, over time, collectibles have changed. And I would say now people collect things because they want to dress more like Bond or be Bond. Now, back when I started collecting, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And I mean, is that what you found?
Yeah, and I actually stumbled upon it quite by accident because, again, I started collecting props from the movie, and then I started to, as a young executive, I had to wear suits a lot of the time. So I started to think about and even just to research what does Bond wear and start to acquire them. And I remember very distinctly around the Skyfall period, gathering as many things from that movie as possible. And I found when I started my YouTube channel, there were all these people that wanted to dress like Bond, and I had no idea. I thought like you, there was the toy people, the literary people, and the movie people, and that's it. Like that is literally it. And then all of a sudden you had this like sartorial group that's now probably dwarfed all the other ones because people feel like they can wear it in real life. Like I'm at work right now, you would never know by the posters, but I'm in my corporate office and here I am wearing a bunch of Bond brands. Nobody knows I'm celebrating Bond unless they come into my office and then they get it.
Yeah, and I did wonder whether, I mean, we've embraced the cosplay element over here in the UK. I know it was over in the US far longer, and I did wonder if that had some sort of influence on people. The people want to dress as their heroes.
Yeah, I think they want to own a piece of their hero. And if they have the added benefit of wearing a piece of what their hero does or the watch that their hero wears, I think that there is a psychological high that goes on, and that's cosplay. Cosplay is about putting on a mask or an outfit and transforming yourself just for a little bit to kind of remove yourself from the stresses of the day. It's like that with Bond. I know a lot of people, they'll collect the watches and they say during the most stressful corporate meeting, they could maybe look down, somebody's yelling at them. They look down and they suddenly remember the scene from Quantum of Solace that this kind of connects back to. And it's, you know this, Bond is an escape. So it does act as an escape valve.
On the subject of watches, I actually have a question from a fan from one of the Bond, from the Bond community, Billy Duffy.
My question to you is, since you have many watches from different movies, which one is your favorite? Mine is the Spectre Omega. Mine doesn't explode though.
That's good. That's good because that would be a very expensive explosion. I do have the Spectre Omega. It's one of my favorites. I think my all-time favorite still has to be the Casino Royale Planet Ocean. It's the 45.5 one that he wears, like in the Madagascar scenes. He wears it mostly in Casino Royale. I love that watch. It's big, it's bold, and it to me says Daniel Craig. And it's kind of like him. He's just this brawny tool, just like the watches.
Okay, great. So in the early days of your channel, it was about sharing your collection, but now, of course, it's evolved into so much more. With you recently recreating the bungee jump from GoldenEye. Yeah. Did you expect any of this to happen?
Nothing. No, and I will go one step further. Not only did I never expect this, I never still expect it. Like I'm always, when I get an email or I get to do something or go to some press thing, I'm always still that kid. You know, I'm always treated as something very special that's not due to me. You know, it's nothing that I've earned. It's something that is a bit of a blessing. And that is why I try to capture the moment. I know so many people can't be a part of these things. So I do try to at least capture an essence of that so other people can see it. Because I've heard, you know, before this all happened to me, I heard, oh, this person's going here, or they're doing this, or they got that. And I'm like, I wonder what it's like. And that's kind of where my channel gravitated to. But no, I consider myself very lucky.
Victoria, hi, this is Pietro. And my question for David is, I saw you on UK's This Morning show last year. What have you seen as the difference in advertising James Bond between the UK and the US? For example, in the UK there's an emphasis on Bond's Britishness, but is that a major factor in the US, such as making him different to other spy action heroes? Thank you.
No. Oh my gosh. First of all, you all do it right. I mean, buses and subways and billboards, we have almost nothing. We have some movie posters, we have some commercials. If we're really lucky, Belvedere will have an ad in a liquor store that totally shocks you when you walk in. In the UK, what I've loved about my visits around when the movie debuts is that you immerse yourself into James Bond. And yes, the Britishness, the way of life, I love it. But the Americans, they don't do it right.
Hi, David. I'm JT Watson, a fellow brother from Langley. You've had some amazing opportunities to meet some of the biggest stars in Bond. Out of all of those experiences, Which stands out as having been your favorite, and why?
It's a great question. Certainly one of my favorites was Barbara Broccoli. And I'll tell you why. Everybody thinks, oh, you're going to say Daniel Craig. It really wasn't. It was Barbara Broccoli because, number one, I was the most nervous with her. I was so much more nervous with her than with Daniel Craig. And with those press junkets, what they do is they give you this very nerve-wracking countdown. They're like, okay, you're going to be on in 15, 14, 13. And you're sitting there, like, your heart's going like this. The only one where I thought I was going to have a heart attack was Barbara Broccoli, because she's so powerful. And I think what she's accomplished, never mind as a woman, as a person, is just so awe-inspiring in many ways, just transformed the franchise. I was like, what the hell am I possibly going to do to connect? But what happened was 1 minute into our conversation, she started choking, like literally, like, and I just stopped the whole thing. And I said, look, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. Please drink some water. She drank some water and calmed down. We had a laugh, and then we were able to relax. But just the whole interaction, she's so charming when you're not
Follow-up
asking
question.
her cliche
Who would you
questions.
most like to meet in the world of Bond that you haven't already?
Oh, this is an
There's
easy
not
one.
many, really.
Well, this is one I haven't. Eva Green, or Eva Green, however you pronounce it. She just seems interesting and intriguing, and I would love to pick her brain on not just Bond, but even her method as an actor. But yeah, she's up there.
She is my second favourite Bond girl, and she is one of my favourite female actresses because she's so versatile. Her work in Penny Dreadful, mind blowing.
I totally agree. Who's your first Bond girl?
It's a bit of an outsider, but I actually, being a huge GoldenEye fan, although GoldenEye isn't my favourite Bond film, it's Goldfinger. It's about third. It would be Natalia Simonova.
Genius. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yes.
Yeah. She sports a cardigan well.
As only she can.
Lovely. Can I also expand on JT's question? Sadly, we've lost so many Bond stars from in front of screen and behind. Who would you have liked to have met?
Oh, this is an easy one. I would have liked to have spent some time with Roger Moore.
Yeah.
Just to sit down, have a drink with him. Just charming. A part of me says Sean Connery. I think that, it would have been very interesting to speak to the original Bond, but there's just something about Roger Moore that it just seemed like it'd be very pleasant.
Yes. From fans that I've spoken to who have been lucky to have met him have said what a real gentleman he was.
As the dust has settled on No Time to Die, has your opinion at all changed of it since you saw it at the premiere and a couple of times in the cinema?
Has it changed? It really hasn't. I'm always a believer that a Bond film, you should feel heroic at the very end. You should feel like you want to go out into the world and save the world and, do an air punch and go, yeah, and you celebrate life. And to kill him off like that, I think it felt unnecessary to me. It's hard to rewatch that movie because of that. Giving him a child, all those things. It's like, I look at Bond as an escape. I don't want Bond to be Daddy Bond or blow up Bond. And then I felt like there were plot holes. I think the bad guy was a weak bad guy. So it's still not a great, wonderful movie to me.
Yeah, I am absolutely 100% with you there. I watched the film 3 times. Wasn't fortunate to go to the premiere, but found myself upset at the end of the film. But I think I was more upset thinking, why have they done this?
Yes.
Because I want my Bond to save the day, get the girl, beat the baddie, and we all go out happy. That's my type of Bond.
By the way, I can't believe I asked you that Bond girl question, and right over your right shoulder is a giant picture of Natalia. Of course,
yes.
there.
This is actually the very first item that I obtained in my collection back in 1995 from my local cinema. I asked for it. It's a double-sided vinyl poster, so it's got the other GoldenEye poster on the other side. and it's still standing after 27 years.
It's gorgeous. I love the image.
Yeah, it's a good backdrop. Okay, I wanted to just throw in now a quick fire round. I'm going to sort of shoot at you, just favourite villain. Just give us a in and out, and we'll see whether we sort of connect there. So, favourite villain.
Oh gosh, Le Chiffre.
Okay. Favourite Bond car.
Oh,
The Bond drives. The Bond
DB5.
drives. Okay. Non-Bond vehicle. Favourite non-Bond vehicle.
That he doesn't drive.
Yeah. It's maybe another character drives.
I will say, you know what? I'm going to go with Hink's Jaguar.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Best one-liner. There's
You
so
expect
many.
You expect me to talk?
Yeah. The film that you watched the least. You may already have answered this.
A View to a Kill.
Okay. Oh, okay. I was expecting No Time to Die there, but okay.
Yeah.
The most stunning location that you have been to.
It has to be Piz Gloria.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing beats that so far.
It's the mecca of all locations, I think.
It is. And Sienna from Quantum of Solace comes a short second.
Okay,
it's
yeah.
Beautiful and stunning. But there's nothing like standing on that mountain.
Yeah. The most annoying character for you?
I love that. Oh gosh, I was going to say
there are a few.
Elvis from Quantum of Solace.
Nice haircut.
Yeah, exactly.
The best visual gag?
Oh, it's got to be the man with the golden gun corkscrew jump with the car.
Okay. I'll just put in there and say my favourite visual gag is in Thunderball when Velupe is in the bath and she says, "Can you pass me something to put on?" And he passes the slippers. I love that.
Amazing.
Every time.
I agree.
The theme song that you listen to the most?
Thunderball.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And your favourite M?
Oh, it's Bernard Lee.
Yeah. The original, yeah.
The original.
Favourite Bond girl?
It's Vesper.
Yeah. In your opinion, the most impressive stunt?
I still think the most impressive stunt, even today, is The Spy Who Loved Me skiing off the precipice in the pre-title sequence. Still just one of these ones where I'm like, still hold my breath.
Yeah. It's that particular film is always seen as having the best sort of pre-title sequence for that reason. I always think, yeah, brilliant. Okay. Who had the best Bond look?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to go with, this is going to surprise everybody. I'm going to go with Sean Connery. I just think that he wore, and the way he moved like a panther.
Yes.
So he exuded cool in everything he did.
Yeah. And I'm presuming Sean Connery is your favourite Bond.
He is.
Yeah. He's my favourite Bond, followed closely by Pierce Brosnan, who basically doesn't have much love sometimes in the Bond community, I would say, but it will be back.
He's got it from me.
Yeah. Favourite Q?
Desmond Llewellyn.
Yeah, definitely. That's who if I could have picked somebody to have met, that's the person I would have loved to have had a chat with, Desmond.
Great.
Favourite henchman or woman?
Zinnia Onatopp.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Favourite Moneypenny?
It's got to be Lois Maxwell, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And favourite choice for the next Bond? I know this is a question that gets slogged over and over.
I'm going to get so much more hate for this. You know what? I'm still in the Henry Cavill camp. I'm really there for so many reasons that I won't bore you with, but I'm holding out for him.
Yeah. And your favourite Bond film?
My favourite Bond film is Casino Royale.
Okay. So in your top 5 of films then, so you've got Casino Royale, what would be the other 4 in order of 1 to 5?
Oh gosh, yeah. So I have this ranked somewhere. Let's see if I can remember. It's Casino Royale. I think the next one under that is Thunderball,
Mhm.
just because I love it so much. From Russia with Love, I know is in my top five. Uh, Live and Let Die is in my top 5. Hmm.
Mhm.
And what else is in my top five? It's mostly Connery. I'm telling you. I'm sure Goldfinger's in there as well.
Yeah.
I just, for me, that is, if I want to sit down and see a traditional Bond film, it's got to be a Connery one.
Yeah, yeah. And I must admit, I got asked this question, and I didn't realise it at the time, but I did top 7, and my top 7 cover all the Bond actors without me even realising. So for me, it would be Goldfinger as number 1, From Russia with Love at number 2, GoldenEye number 3 for pure nostalgic reasons, because that's where it sort of all started.
Yeah.
4, Casino Royale.
Yeah.
5, On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Nice.
6, The Spy Who Loved Me. And 7, License to Kill. Now, I never realised until I was reeling them off that actually I'd covered each one just by pure
That's
accident.
brilliant. You're spreading the love. You know, I just remembered, because I know you're a Brosnan fan, Tomorrow Never Dies, believe it or not, is in my top 5. I love that movie.
Tomorrow Never Dies is a lot of people's favourite by Brosnan because he just seemed more comfortable in the role. He bulked up a bit.
That's it.
I mean, I am a Brosnan fan way before Bond anyway, but the scene where he's in the hotel with brooding with the drink and
yes,
favorite scene in any Bond film. Yes, yeah, definitely. Okay, so I have a final question from
Hello,
one
David.
of our Bond fans,
Amalan. My question for you is, what would be your advice to parents who want to get their kids into Bond? Thank you very much.
Oh, that's a great question. I have actually never been asked that. You know, I would say first and foremost, before you even choose a film, because I think people would gravitate, oh, I'm going to choose this film. Before you do that, I would sit down and talk to the child about what Bond means to you as an adult. You know, your journey with Bond, how you saw it as a child, the magical moments, the escapism, what is it about you? Now, give it a little bit of a preheat before you do that. And then I would choose what I call a family-friendly movie. Like I wouldn't do License to Kill.
No.
But I might do something like Moonraker, which is a really fun romp. I might even do Octopussy, which is a little bit lighter, and he's in a lot of disguises. You know, he's an ape, and he's a clown, and he's this and that. Definitely the Roger Moores are very approachable as far as that's concerned. But I think that there's a couple Brosnan ones that would fit the bill as far as showing somebody of a younger generation. So yeah, preheat, discussion, and then choose wisely.
Yeah, great advice. So we are nearly at our time, short and sweet. But I just wanted to ask you, for people or Bond fans who haven't experienced your channel, where can they find you?
Probably the best way to experience it is to go to YouTube and put in the search, The Bond Experience, and we'll pop up. And then you can choose, you know, maybe you don't want to see something about clothing. You want to see something about locations or a discussion with a celebrity or, you know, a literature discussion. It's kind of all there. So there's over 785 videos. Yikes. So it's a bit of a library that people can choose from, but I think they'll have a fun time.
That's great. David, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure. Wow. No, this was great. I love the interaction.
I feel so privileged that I had a chance to speak with him. So, if you have enjoyed this episode, then please give it an MI6 stamp of approval and click on the notifications below. And why not subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the exciting things that are going to happen in 2023. You can also find me on Instagram and on the designated Facebook page to this channel. Once again, I'd like to thank the fabulous David Zaritsky for taking the time out to speak with me. And I'd like to thank you for joining me at the Bond Room Unlocked.